Hello BookTube, my name is Adrian. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be wrapping up the month of January, and I will be telling you about how the Housecup-a-thon ended up going. So if you have not seen it, I will link my TBR for the Housecup-a-thon. I think it's going to be over here. I'm not positive on that, but I'll link my TBR so you can kind of see what if you are interested to see what I kind of thought I was going to read. And then here we will talk about what I actually did read. This video is going to be a little bit different than a traditional wrap up just because I am wrapping up a month-long readathon, and I did vlog the entire month. There is a vlog that is up that kind of wraps up the first week. After that, I kind of fell off of the vlogging wagon a bit, more specifically the editing wagon. I just didn't want to edit. And so I didn't, which is not great because it means you guys didn't get any videos, but I do have clips. So while I talk about what I read and kind of my thoughts and things, I will, when I mention a book or mention something that we did over the weekend, you'll kind of see clips of it over my face. So that's how this is going to work. So real quick, let's wrap up the first vlog, and what I read. So at the very beginning of the month, I read The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This is a reread for me. It was one of my favorite books of 2019. This book was great. I really loved it. Gave it 5 stars. Again, this is like the 3rd time I've read it, and it was top notch. Really enjoyed that. After The Flat Share, I read Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Rift graphic novels. This is the 3rd bind-up of graphic novels, so the 3rd series for the Avatar graphic novels. I gave this 4 stars and really liked it as well. After that, I read Sorcerer of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I gave this book 5 stars. I really liked this book. It was a pleasant surprise for me because I did not anticipate enjoying it as much as I did, but I really liked it. So yes, this one I gave 5 stars. This book completed a challenge. It completed my Diagon Alley challenge, which is to read a book set in a world you've never read from before. And this did that. It was a good book. I really enjoyed it. So that was all of the books that I kind of read during week 1. So let's go ahead and then get into the books that I read the rest of the month, and I'll tell you kind of more about my thoughts. If you want to know my more in-depth thoughts about those 3 books I just talked about, you can go check out the vlog that I did. I will link it up above. Again, I think it's on this side. So you guys can go check it out and kind of see my more in-depth thoughts about those books. But then now we will talk about the rest of the books I read in the month and what my thoughts were, and you can see some clips. So at the end of that reading vlog, I talked about the fact that I was currently reading Throne of Fire by Rick Riordan, the 2nd book in the Kane Chronicles. I ended up finishing that book and giving it 3 stars. It was fine. I kind of knew throughout reading Throne of Fire that it was just going to be a fine book, that probably every book in the series was just going to be a fine book. They're not exactly what I hoped they would be. They are middle grade novels, and they read like middle grade novels, which is good. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to read like middle grade novels. But for me as an adult, reading a middle grade novel, it's very simplistic, and so I'm not going to probably enjoy them oftentimes as much as I would have if I would have read them during my middle grade years. So they weren't as good. The characters made decisions that I as an adult would not have made, but they were children, so you can't expect much from them. So just for that reason alone, my enjoyment of the book wasn't as great as I thought it would be, as I'd hoped. So I gave that one a 3 stars. After that, I read The Serpent Shadow, which is book 3 in the Kane Chronicles. I gave this book, again, 3 stars. This was the wrap-up to this story, and I had some issues with it in terms of just certain things that skeeved me out. I gave the book 3 stars again because it was a fine book, but again, there were things that weirded me out. So first of all, same thing as Throne of Fire. I knew kind of reading through it that it was just going to be an okay book for me. And it was. So one of the things that made it a 3 star and just an okay book was that everything wrapped up kind of conveniently. It all just kind of came together and really wasn't that big of a deal. And like the world is ending, it's the apocalypse kind of situation that they're trying to deal with, and it all just kind of went away. Like it was just all kind of wrapped up in a nice little package, and that with very little effort, and so that didn't quite feel realistic. But then the book did also skeeve me out a little bit because one of our main characters, Sadie, is 13 years old. She has her 13th birthday during this book, and she has a love triangle in these books that also wrapped up very conveniently in a very weird way, and her love interests are older than her. One is 16 and one is an Egyptian god who is considerably older than her, but he takes the appearance of a 16-year-old. And while in my head, I know that 3 years isn't that big an age gap. George and I, my husband, are 3 years apart. I mentioned this in the vlog that I did, which you'll see, probably seeing clips of over my head at some point during this. 3 years isn't that big of an age gap, but when one of the participants of that relationship is 13 years old and the other is, 16, it is a very bizarre situation. Like, it's one thing for a 3-year age gap when both participants in the relationship are older, like 18 and older. It's very different when they are 13, when one of the people is 13 years old. And I realize that sounds weird and kind of hypocritical, but it just skewed me out a lot. So that made reading the book harder to enjoy, just because the relationship, while cute at times and very sweet, always came back around to just being weird because of the ages of the characters. So that was that book and my thoughts on that. After that, I read Coming Up for Air by, I didn't write down her name, by Miranda Kinnelly. This is the cover. I read Coming Up for Air. I read this book in like 6 hours or less. I think I started it I'm not going to map this, but I started it at about 8 p.m. and I finished it at 1 a.m. because I could not stop reading it. I just had to finish it. But I read Coming Up for Air. This was a 5-star book for me. I absolutely love this book. I flew through it. It was just a really good read for me. It kind of has a not fake dating trope, but kind of like a fake dating trope. I really liked it. It's friends to lovers as well. It was a contemporary romance. This book completed my challenge for the Quidditch challenge, which is to read a book that features a sport or competition or trial. I liked that a lot. The Throne of Fire completed the challenge for The Troll, which was a book with monsters in it. Circle back there. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. I really love this book. It was just a cute YA romance. Definitely liked it. At this point, I did end up doing going through my books and doing an unhaul. I cleared out my shelves, getting ready to go on a trip for the weekend where I was going to go to Half Price Books and sell some of my books back to Half Price Books. So I did that during that time. I filmed an unhaul for that. If you're interested in that, I can link that as well. And then after that, after the unhaul, while we were on our weekend trip, I read the book Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This was an ARC. It fulfilled the challenge for the Invisibility Cloak, which is to read a book with under 1,000 ratings on GoodReads. At the time that I read it, it had less than 1,000 reviews. I'm pretty sure it has more than that now. But I really liked this book. I ended up giving Tweet Cute 4.5 stars. It was not a full 5 because there were some things that were just a little bit weird and a little bit too convenient, but it was a really good read. So I liked it a lot. This book follows two teenagers who run their family businesses, Twitter pages, and the two business Twitters end up fighting each other and having like a Twitter battle, and then these two people end up going to the same school together, and it's like their relationship, and it's very cute, and it was, while also dealing with some pretty intense things. I really liked this book. Obviously, I said that I read this book while we were on our trip. So while we were on our trip, we went to Half Price Books. We went to Dave & Buster's, where Ryan had a great time running around, playing all the games. He was really good at Flappy Bird, actually, which was crazy. But he plays Geometry Dash, so I don't know why that surprised me that he was really good at Flappy Bird. I got my nose pierced while we were there, which was not something I had planned to do, but I've been wanting to get my nose pierced for like 4 years and just could never do it because it was kind of expensive because you have to pay for the piercing and jewelry. The place that we ended up going to was a tattoo and piercing shop, so it was a very reputable place, but their jewelry was included in the price of the piercing, so it was like the best price I'd ever found for getting my nose pierced. And so George and I agreed that it was fine for me to just decide to get my nose pierced with no planning. So I did, and I really love my nose ring. It's super cute. I'm really glad I did it. So that was that trip. When we came home from the trip, I decided that I wanted to read Coming Up for Air again. So I did. Read it again, gave it another 5 stars. It was a good book. Again, I had like a sudden obsession with this book, which I do occasionally when I read a book that I really enjoy. I will just want to reread it over and over and over again. Coming Up for Air is one of those books. So I reread it and gave it another 5 stars. After that, I decided that I had been really enjoying Margaret Rogerson's. I really enjoyed Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and so I decided to pick up her other book, which is An Enchantment of Ravens. I read through this one pretty quickly. I gave it a 4.5 stars. It was really good. I did not like it as much as Sorcery of Thorns, but I really did enjoy it quite a lot. This book is a fae novel. It's got some Beauty and the Beast style elements. And yeah, it was really, really good. It was very interesting to see kind of the way that the story played out, because basically the fae cannot feel human emotions and therefore cannot do human craft. So anything artsy, anything basic crafting, cooking, baking, painting, pottery, anything like that, anything that requires the ability to take something from nature and turn it into something else, the fae can't do. And so they go to humans to do those things for them. And so in this story, basically, a painter paints a picture of a fae, and in the process she paints the look of sorrow into his eyes, which is a no-no and actually kind of taboo. And so she gets taken to go to court, basically go to be punished for this, like in a court system. And in the process there's a whole thing that happens, and it was a really good story and very interesting to kind of see the way that this crafting thing works, and like the fae and how they really do. It was just really interesting, and I really liked it. So 4.5 stars for that. After that, I read Avatar: The Last Airbender, Smoke and Shadow, which is the 4th graphic novel bind up for this series. I really enjoyed that. I gave Smoke and Shadow 4 stars. It was actually one of my favorites from the series so far, so that was nice. Again, these Avatar graphic novels are continuations after the TV show. They're kind of showing the political climate and kind of adjusting to the new society after the 100 Years' War. And then after that, I read Avatar: The Last Bender, North and South, which is the 5th and final graphic novel bind up from this arc of the series. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I did not like it as much. There was just a lot of Katara and Sokka hating on people. And when I say hating on people, there was a lot of like just deciding like the moment they met someone that they weren't gonna like them and not trust them. And then it just was not fun to read. I didn't enjoy it. So I give that one 3 stars because it just wasn't as good as the others. After that, I picked up Roomies by Christina Lauren. This book was a reread. I've read it several times. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was a good book. I think the first time I read Roomies, I gave it 5 stars. So this 4-star rating is actually a decrease for me, but I did really enjoy this book. I mean, some of the things in it, the storyline are just a little weird. I mean, the gist of the story is that a woman admires an individual who plays guitar in a subway station in New York, and she is the niece of a very famous director for shows, like stage shows, and her uncle ends up needing a new musician to perform for their big show, in the lead role for their big show, and she recommends the subway musician. Turns out he's not in the country illegally. He is not in the country legally. He's here illegally, and in order to get him to stay, she marries him to get him, green card, basically. Which I realize is not technically how that system works, but whatever. She marries him in order to get him able to stay in the States and be able to perform in her uncle's thing, which she has had a huge crush on him for months at this point. So they get married, he moves in with her, and they become roommates, basically. And it's them like forming a relationship and all that. So it's a good story, but like some of the stuff is a little hinky and a little messed up because there's some lying going on, not just to the government, but to each other. So, there's some things. But yes, so that was that. After after that, I ended up reading The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. This book I gave 4 stars. This book fulfilled one of my last challenge for the Housecup-a-thon, which was to read a intimidating book, and I picked The Death of Mrs. Westaway because this is like a mystery thriller, which is not a genre I read from very often, and so I picked this one. Basically what this book is this woman gets a letter from the estate of a elderly woman who has passed, saying that this Mrs. Westaway is your grandmother. We need you to come to her estate for the reading of the will. But the woman who gets the letter is not this woman's granddaughter. She does not know what this letter is about, and she decides to go and kind of pretend to be this person that they think she is to see kind of what she can get, because she's like down on her luck and she's hoping maybe she can get a couple $100 out of the deal. And then mystery ensues and she finds out a lot of secrets, and it ended up being a very good book. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars, so it was a pretty good read. So yeah, that was everything I read in the month of January and my Housecup-a-thon kind of update. I managed to complete all of the Housecup-a-thon challenges except for the required reading. I didn't end up getting that book read, The Sorcerer's Stone, read in the month of January, but that's okay. But I did read some of it during the month of January. I just didn't get it all done. So yeah, that is everything I read for the Housecup-a-thon and in the month of January. I'm going to go ahead and go because this video is pretty long already. So I'm going to go ahead and go. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Oh, I didn't even tell you. Ravenclaw won the Housecup-a-thon. So our Twitter page has been updated for Ravenclaw until the end of the next round. Ravenclaw won. So well done, guys. Good job. That's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.